Nathan, thank you so much for jumping on the AIM podcast.
Dude, I'm glad to do it. I'm excited, man. So
I'm excited too. The only thing I'm a little disappointed in you, there's no George, dude. Where's George?
he's outside, dude. He's outside the door right now. Had to lock him out. So
Uh,
we were messing around with him, putting little flower costumes, and he got mad. So now he's getting frisky. So
all right, before this is going to be, I'm excited about this podcast because I know there's going to be serious things we talk about. There's going to be funny things we talk about.
yeah,
There's going to be informative things we talk about. But before we dive into any of that, I want to hear the story of George. I want to know where he came from, why you got him. Tell me about George.
okay. So it was back when I was in Georgia, right? And then there was this random homeless cat that I saw in my backyard in Georgia, and I'm bored. I'm gonna try to play with it. So got a tuna packet, went outside, and tried to like feed it, and it's a little dumpster cat, right? So it's like, kind of shifty, eventually warms up, and then for like 6 months while I'm in Georgia, this thing would just come up to me at night on my back porch and stuff, and I just pet it, this little homeless cat, and I was like, yo, I'm gonna name you George, because name a random cat George. And then over the days and weeks and months, he was like getting fat. I'm like, yo, George is getting fat. And then someone in my comments was like, yo, George looks pregnant, bro. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yo, I think George is a girl. I'm like, what? Oh no. So that was the original cat. And then had to give it to like a foster family. And George ended up having like 7 kittens. And then so I move up from, Georgia to Kansas with my girlfriend. And one of her soldiers was like, yo, we found this little baby kitten in a wheel well, abandoned. I was like, oh, we're gonna take it, George Jr. There's George Jr. Once again, I messed up on the gendering of the cat. George Jr. is also a girl, so I'm 0 for 2 for correctly gendering cats. So both Georges are OG. I call them OG George, and George Jr. are actually girls. So that's how that started.
Forgive me for my lack of knowledge on the cat species, but like, is it pretty hard to identify the gender of a cat? Like, is it?
No, I don't think so. It's just the original one. Like, it was a wild cat, so I was like, pet me and stuff. But I never let it inside. I never like picked it up. It would just like lay on my lap and stuff. So I just never thought to look down until its belly was bulging, and I was like, oh, this thing's got nipples. It's like trying to rush inside my house and have babies and stuff. Yeah, it was wild. So. Yeah, so George Jr.'s spayed. So yeah, that confirmed it's a girl.
That's awesome, bro.
Yeah.
That's really good. I love it. It's cool to see the way you've kind of like, obviously you have like a serious brand, you've got your fitness stuff, you've got all the competing for and training, but George has been such a cool thing
I love it.
Brought into your content.
I love it. And it's like, it brings like the humor of it, and it's something that like because I kind of have like say the fitness stuff. I have like stuff I do with my girlfriend. I have like funny stuff, George stuff. So it's like a wide range of stuff for like, people will watch it even if they don't work out at all, which is kind of cool. So it's like everyone gets a little bit of something. But yeah, he's my little emotional support animal is what he is. So.
I love it, dude. I love it. Have you dropped George merch yet?
I want to. So some company, bro, made us this big frame, this picture frame, and it's literally hand painted, and it just says in like Times New Roman font, George. And I was like, that'd be the funniest thing to try to turn it into like a meme, like have it not even be connected to me, but like a thing where it's like George on cups, George doing different things, and be like the new like meme, not like a Garfield thing. I don't know, but make it like a big nationwide meme thing. That'd be super funny to do. See if I could swing that,
George NFTs, bro. George NFTs.
George NFTs.
We'll talk about this offline. We might be onto something.
It might work.
I love it. Well, let's dive in. You've got a crazy story. I think you and I have obviously had a chance to kind of connect and build a relationship. And I think hearing bits and pieces of the things that you've gone through and overcome and where you are today, dude, it's just so much inspiration throughout the entire timeline of that. So I would love to kind of just start at the beginning of really everything and kind of just slowly picture of where you are today, because I know there are things that you've dealt with and overcome that can definitely help others. And that's the whole premise of this podcast, is how can we use this platform to share people's stories and help people. So dude, let's dive into kind of the origin of everything, bro. I'll let you you pick the starting spot, and then let's it, bro.
So like started definitely like first year, like freshman year of high school, right? So like I kind of like not like hit full on puberty, but like grew a little bit quicker than everyone else, like 8th grade and all that stuff. And like not like tooting my own horn, but like fairly decent at every sport. Like, top three, top one, like at anything I did, I was fairly decent. It's like important to know that because it like goes in later. So like fairly like, practice my butt off and stuff, but like was fairly well-rounded in everything. So I go to, fastest dude, sprinting, long distance, soccer, everything and stuff. And then so I get to freshman year of high school, and starting off the year with soccer and stuff, uh, everything's looking normal. And then out of the blue, it was like I was just getting tired, and I was like, what the hell is this, man? And I'm like, 15 at the time, and I'm like, these dudes that have been blown out of the water. It's like it's not like a bunch of dudes just hit puberty and like oh, these dudes packed on a lot of muscle and it's normal. It was just like, yo, I'm like getting it felt like I had mono, but it like went on for months and months, and like did not know when we started going to doctors and stuff. And we found out later, but I had somehow got parvovirus, which is a thing that dogs get. I don't know how, but I got parvovirus. On top of that, somehow had hyperthyroidism. So my thyroid was out of whack. And then I had anemia. So it was like a bunch of things together was making me feel like really, really weak, like super slow, super weak and stuff. And, we didn't know that until 6 months, a year later and stuff. So like in my 15-year-old mind, I'm like, yo, I'm putting in this work. I'm usually seeing results. I'm usually, top tier for athletic stuff, and I'm sucking right now. I'm sucking, and I cannot figure out why. And I'm like, I kind of got like a scientific brain. Like I have a biology degree and stuff. I like analyzing things and seeing a problem and trying to fix it. So I was like, all right, what could be the reason? And I was like, well, I'm working out the same, practicing the same, doing everything the same. Maybe it's because I gained a little weight. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. I was what, 135 pounds at the time. Maybe, normal weight for a freshman. I was like a skinnier dude, but like, not like dangerously skinny at all, athletic. So I was like, maybe the reason I'm feeling slower is because I gained some weight and I didn't realize it. I never really weighed myself. So I was like, we're going to see what happens, right? Just, because I'm going to solve the problem, right? And, didn't have any like anorexia things at the time. But slowly just started like cutting out like desserts and like I think that's the first thing I did. I was like, I'm gonna eat healthier maybe, and now like lose a couple pounds, and we'll see if that like brings me back up to where I was compared to everyone else. And then I did that, and then I felt lighter, obviously losing some weight, and I was like, oh, this feels good, but I'm still sucking. And I'm like, well, maybe I need to lose a little bit more weight. Maybe that's it. Maybe I haven't lost enough, and that's kind of where it like started. And now my parents didn't know at the time because they're thinking like, oh, he's getting in high school, he's trying to eat healthier for sports and stuff. You're not going to know. And like I said, we didn't know any of what the actual medical stuff was till 6 months to a year later. So we're all clueless and stuff like that. But that was kind of like the start of the big downhill is where it was. And so just as the years went down, it was like, it started with, restricting like desserts. And then it was like, all right, I'm going to throw away some, not eat some more food or eat half what I did, because it was all for performance at the time. It was all like, I'm trying to get quicker, trying to get back to where I was. But after about, 6 months to a year, then I started looking in the mirror. I'm like, oh man, I think I'm still think I'm overweight. I need to lose more. And that's kind of where like the body image stuff started, where I'm like, oh, I need to lose weight. Obviously I'm, skin and bones at the time. I'm at like 125 pounds, sophomore in high school at that point, going down to like 115 soon and stuff. So I'm like 20 pounds lighter than I was as a 7th and 8th grader, which is obviously pretty bad. And it just kind of kept going down and down. And then once we did find out like, oh, you're feeling really weak because your thyroid's out of whack, we get medicine for that. The parvo, we don't know how you got that, but it eventually, went away. But the damage was kind of already done like mentally, to where like, yeah, the medical stuff's cleared. You're good now, but now your mental state is all messed up. And now I'm obsessing with, the eating. Cause now I'm so afraid at this point to where like, I'm thinking if I eat too much in my head, I'm just going to get fat. I'm going to get fat, and I don't want that. And now like the performance part was out the window. I wasn't even thinking about that. It was just, I didn't want to be fat. And so I was literally like, I remember throwing food in high school in my going to the like bathroom, throwing away my lunch and stuff. When my parents weren't home, I'd be like running up and down the stairs to burn calories and shit like that, like wild stuff. And that lasted, all through high school. So freshman to senior year was dealing with that stuff. Like you have no social life at that point because you don't want to go out or anything. You're just worried about like losing weight the whole entire time. And no, I'd been in and out of like different therapists and stuff. Went to a couple of different hospitals and things and stuff. But it's really, like I said, it's really hard to like with this stuff. I've tried to help kind of other people. It's really hard to like other people can't fix it for you. It's like you gotta have like a brain shift and then fix it. Like other people can help you, but at the end of the day, you gotta like fix it yourself. So that went, all through high school, all through college, up until dealing with it. Say I started RTC the freshman year of college, and then was dealing with that all the way up until I remember junior year. I think is when I started to like break out of it. So and I've been dealing with it, 6 years, from 15 to 20 something, which is a lot. Like all your formative years, your puberty, like I literally stunted my growth. Like I built a decent physique, but like my shoulders aren't as wide as they should be. I'm the only dude in my family under 6 foot. I'm like 5'10", like legitimately stunted my growth because all, starving myself, to death essentially like that. And that's kind of where too, because I was trying to get into the Naval Academy in West Point, and then applied to there, got like the approval for it, but they were like, hey, we got to pull your approval because you had this eating disorder, and we like to get into the academies, you have to be completely cleared from the get-go. And they were like, hey, what you can do if you still want to do military is you can do RTC. For RTC, you can do the first 2 years kind of for free, essentially. Most people will contract, get like a 4-year scholarship, but in some cases like mine, you could do the first 2 years for free and then contract your junior year. So they were like, hey, we recommend doing that. See if you can sort it out by the junior year. And if you're good to go, then you can, contract and still become an officer, just a different route. But that's kind of like, like I said, dealing with that, had like no high school experience, no college experience at all, just because, ruined my whole entire, like childhood, which, kind of sucks. But, at the end of the day, did to myself. But I remember like the changing point was junior year, where like I said, big time runner. Like I said, was good at it, but dude, I was running like, 8 miles a day, doing all this, crazy stuff that like, was quick, but doing it, and then ended up snapping my leg, like really bad stress fractures, couldn't do any cardio. And I was working out with like weights at the time, like didn't really know what I was doing. I would just watch like YouTube videos, like, David Lade and all that stuff, be like, all right, what can I like copy? Because I was like, these dudes that are like looking really lean and they're super strong. How can I, learn from that? So I was, watching that stuff, lifting weights, not efficiently or anything like that, but I was doing it. But like I said, ended up snapping my leg around the Christmas during winter break. And so couldn't do, any cardio or anything like that. But I was like, well, I still want to work out. So I'm still going to, do my regular routine. And it was like the perfect timing of all this stuff to happen that kind of saved me. Was like, all right, during winter break, you're at family parties, you're eating more, more foods, more desserts and stuff like that. I can't do cardio, so I'm burning less. But it was like in my mind, I didn't realize that like, well, I'm gonna get fat if I don't, it wasn't like triggering my anorexia kind of brain going on. So I remember like just, still working out and stuff all through winter break, but ended up putting on like 10, 10 pounds or something like that, didn't really realize it at all. And then I remember coming back to RTC the next, January and stuff like that. And someone being like, yo, dude, your arms look bigger. And I was like, they what? And I was looking, I was like, dude, I don't think they do. But it was the first time I'd ever like had a compliment like that. And I was like, whoa, maybe there's something to this eating more, right? Maybe there's something. So I was like, I'd wait for 6-7 years. I thought if I ate more, I'd get fat. Like instantly I would just get fat. That's the way my brain worked. I was like deathly scared of it. And I was like, well, I ate more and I didn't get fat and my arms got bigger, which is what I wanted. I was like, oh, maybe there's something to that. And then just that was kind of like the start of me getting out of it. So did like more research on like how to correctly work out. Just did, spammed 5x5s and all this stuff, bench. I didn't really squat much at the time, but like bench and deadlift and stuff like that. I was like, all right, I'm going to try to get stronger and eat more and like, slowly introduced cardio, but I'd been lifting for a while and not doing cardio that I kind of started to like. I was like, dude, I like these changes. I like feeling myself fill out the way I'd always like dreamed of, like watching the people like David Lade and stuff like filling out like that. And so like, still introduce cardio. We had to do it for the Army, and then, but I also did it on myself because I wanted to, be like, the best at doing it. But yeah, it was like, that was the start. And it was like, all through junior year, all through senior year, I think my first year I put on 30 pounds. So I went from like 120 to like 150, and, still lean. Like I've never bulked really in my life, just slowly gained, but like, still lean, but I looked bigger and I could see it then. And I was like, oh, this is sick. And I'm like, now I'm kind of training for strength and stuff, and then after that was kind of the start, and then now it's been kind of full steam ahead every single year. It's been like, went from like 120 to 150, and then 150 to 60 after like a year and a half, and 160 to 70. And now I'm sitting at like 180 ish right now. But you got to think that's, like 65 pounds of, muscle. And, at the end of the day, right, I didn't get fat. I did the very thing that I, swore I wouldn't, which was eat more, because I was afraid I'd get fat, and I didn't. But it literally all, like, my mental shift was literally just someone being like, yo, man, your arms look bigger. And that was for me, that was the thing that just like made it click. So yeah.
Dude, that's an amazing story, man. I appreciate you sharing that, because I think a lot of people deal with, to different degrees, right? It's a spectrum. It's, maybe
it is a big spectrum. Yeah.
But it's cool to see how someone like yourself has, dealt with it, overcome it. Now what you're doing is amazing. But, kind of diving into it a little deeper, like when you were first going through that, you talked about kind of the performance aspect being a big driver of some of the decisions you made. Where did you ever see a shift where it became more of like just pure off like aesthetics, where it was like, the performance side is important for me, but like I just am so more like focused and conscious of how I look and how I feel. Like, was there ever a shift there?
Yeah, I think like sophomore year. So like I think like a year after it started. Because I remember like before soccer games. So I did soccer freshman and sophomore year, and then did cross country junior and senior. But I remember like before a soccer game, I'd run like 4 miles. And obviously that wasn't for performance. I remember like I stopped, like I'm still, trying my best at the sport and stuff, but it shifted from like solely for like, all right, I gotta burn calories. And I started obsessing over numbers and stuff. And that's like why still to this day I don't track what I eat at all. Like I've been pretty good at like knowing how I feel when I eat certain things and stuff. But yeah, that was literally, I'd be like, oh, I need to burn 400 calories. And if I, take off, instead of having a sandwich, right, I would just cut out the bread and just have the lunch meat or things like that and stuff. So yeah, I think like sophomore year of high school was like really where it like turned from, all right, I'm going to, try to do this to get better at my sport, back to where I was to solely being like, I'm just trying to not get fat, and I want to be as lean. In my mind, literally, like I look back through some old pictures and like, skin and bones, like deathly skinny. But in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm getting lean. I got abs. I'm getting lean and stuff. Now it's just, I had, I was starving myself to death was what was happening. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, what did the diet look like in those early years as you started to deal with it? Like, were you still eating pretty clean, just like less quantity of food, or was
yeah. So it started, it was, usually like said, it was like, I'd usually, cereal in the morning. I'd have whatever, lunch my parents packed me, and then we'd have whatever they had for dinner and stuff. But it was like, then it was like, all right, I'm going to pretend like I had cereal in the morning and just not have it. And then, not have anything to breakfast. And then I'd, throw some of my lunch away at lunch. Or I remember I would like eat my sandwiches really slowly to fill up the lunchtime, just to try to be not, in my mind, like I was thinking, I was like, oh, people aren't noticing. People noticed. They just, didn't say anything. They just thought I was, super weird. But yeah, it was just like throwing bits away, and I was just trying to eat less. And then it started turning into like, I never like binged to where like I made myself throw up at all, but it would be like I would starve myself throughout the day and then eat a ton of stuff at night, regardless of what it was. Like I remember I'd be sneaking in the pantry at like 1 a.m, eating stuff because I was so hungry, and then feel like garbage the next day, and then not eat anything the whole entire day, and then go in the pantry and do the same thing over and over again. You got to think, my stomach's a mess. After that, you can't digest stuff properly at all. But yeah, it was like I said, it started off trying to eat super clean, and then it just went into just throwing things away, pretending like I was eating stuff and not eating it, and then just binging at night. So
Yeah, that's interesting. And when you kind of made this shift and started to overcome this, was there a specific resource or person that like truly kind of gave you the fuller, broader education on nutrition and like how a balanced diet should look? Like talk to me through that kind of world of
no,
how
yeah,
you,
like all of this stuff, and this is kind of like I'm glad we're doing this. Of like, especially with men, I remember looking at YouTube videos and stuff and being like, I just want to see, like I remember being like, anorexia transformation and all this, like trying to look up stuff to be like, I want to see if there's someone like me out there to like see if they got over it, to see if there's like some hope for me and stuff. And I could not find
wow.
anyone for that. So I didn't have any. I literally just figured everything else out. And like you said, it just started with um, like I said, I was like, whoa, okay, I can eat more, and I'm not getting fat. So then it was slowly like, all right, let me reintroduce, and I guess I was still eating like healthy to an extent, but it was just like slowly reintroducing that food because I was like, well, it's I'm hungry. It's okay to eat when I'm hungry. Like I don't have to feel bad about that. And if I do eat when I'm hungry, I'm able to like try to push for these numbers in the weight room that I'm trying to, and I'm going to be okay. And then it's like, and when it started, I was still super anal about like working out every single day, no matter what. And like, I remember if I couldn't work out, I'd be, like I said, sneaking around, like running up and down the stairs for like 30 minutes, like in my house, just to like burn off calories, or like sneaking downstairs on our elliptical and trying to do stuff. And then it slowly turned to like, hey, if I can't work out in a day, it doesn't matter. Like it's okay. It's okay. Like even now, like I'll be lucky if I consistently work out 5 days a week, honestly. Like there's a lot of the times where if I'm traveling or something now where like I won't work out 4 days in a row, and knowing and being like, yeah, it kind of sucks, but like me not freaking out mentally knows that like I can tell like, it's totally overcome that. Cause I would imagine like if this was like 6 years ago, oh, I'd be freaking out. Like I remember I'd be doing, push-ups in, dirty bathroom stalls and stuff, just to do something. So I would legitimately, I would have panic attacks if I couldn't exercise. And like I said, it wasn't even at the time, it wasn't even to like get stronger. It was just, I need to do something to burn off calories. Cause that sandwich I ate that was 200 calories, I got to burn it off or else it's all going to get fat, which, obviously is not going to happen, but that's the way my like thought process was.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, that's interesting, man. And when you kind of brought the military aspect into all this during a time where you hadn't, fully you were still dealing with it, right? So
mm,
what was the dynamic there? Like, is that something that you'd always wanted to do, or was it kind of something you sought after, knowing that maybe it could help you get through what you were dealing with? Like, what was the dynamic with
yeah,
the
no,
military?
it was just something that was like my older sister went to the Naval Academy, and my dad was like worked for the government and stuff. So it was always kind of like proposed as an option, like, hey, it was like, my parents aren't going to pay for my college. They're not paying for anyone's college. So you either, do well on the ACT, or you join the military and get it paid for. And thank God I did well on the ACT. Cause like I said, obviously I did the first 2 years for free. So I never received a RTC scholarship at all. Got no money from the Army, but I got a 34 on the ACT. So I got a full ride, thank God. So that
Wow.
kind of saved me. But yeah, it was something that was always like introduced. I'd be going to like seminars, like when my sister was applying, when I was like in sixth grade. So I was just like, oh, it was always around me. So it was like, oh, it's always something I want to do. Like, no desire to make a career out of it, but it was something I wanted to do just because it's been around my life the whole entire time. But yeah, so I don't think, yeah, nothing in the Army like helped me get over it at all. It was purely just like I said, it was just chance at that point that the one person was like, oh, your arms look bigger. But yeah, like I said, at the end of the day, it's really like it's a mind shift that the person who's struggling with it has to make, and no amount of like therapists can do it for you. Like I went to like four different therapists and stuff, and none of them helped. None of them helped,
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's a very difficult thing to like deal with, because then you have your friends and family who are like, whoa, we need to, this person's struggling, so we need to like force them to eat more. Like, we need to tell them all the time, just eat more, blah, blah, blah. You won't get fat. And that just like, when you're in it, that just like wrecks your mind. It wrecks your mind and you become super defensive and stuff and like super sneaky with what you're doing and shady and stuff. So it's a very like difficult thing to deal with if you're the person dealing with it. And also if you're like close to a person who's also dealing with it. Cause you're like, how do I help this person without kind of pushing them off the edge essentially?
Sure. I think it's interesting because obviously it's hard for others to truly, they can observe things that they see, right? But it's hard for them to know and understand what you're going through mentally, physically, eternally, inside your body, emotionally. If you could go back and tell yourself something like advice, what would be the advice you would give to yourself? Obviously it's different for different people, but what would you try to change or think about differently?
Yeah. Cause like you said, it's different because like there's different spectrums, right? Like I was definitely bad, I wasn't the worst because, there's literally people that have, died from it and all that, that never recover. So it wasn't the worst, but I was pretty bad. And there's also some people that, you may not even see any bodily effects from it, but it's just still in their mind. Like, some people that are, competing in bodybuilding, like professionally or something. And if they're counting every single macro and stuff, like obviously their body looks good. It's not like they're underweight and skinny, but the mental thing is, but I would say like, just take the chance, like take the chance of, what's the worst thing that happens? Like eat a little bit more, see what happens, like prove it. Like that's I think kind of what helped me was that like, I proved it to myself. I proved to myself, like, I could eat more and what I thought was going to happen didn't happen. So if I could just be like, hey, take the chance, take the risk, eat more. What's the worst that happens? You do get a little fat. All right. You've proven to yourself the past 6 years that you're super good at losing weight. And I can lose weight pretty darn quick with all my little sneaky methods that I've, devised by throwing away food and exercising and stuff. So like, God forbid if I gain 5 pounds, I could lose 10 pounds in a day if I wanted to, but on the flip side, if I prove myself wrong and the opposite actually happens and I actually gain weight and I'm not fat and I'm stronger and better, then, that's, that seems like it's, the right answer right there. So I'll just say, yeah, just, take a chance, and but like I said, what's the worst that's going to happen? If physically impossible, you're not going to gain 30 pounds in a day. Physically, your body doesn't work like that, So, take the chance. And like I said, that'd be, you'd be 99% pleasantly surprised with, the results. Cause it'll be exactly the opposite of what you thought was going to happen.
Sure. What were the other areas of your life that were impacted by this? Like, I'm sure there were crossovers where, this was something you were dealing with from, in the kitchen, but obviously there was probably some areas where this was also impacting, like in different places in your life.
Yeah. So obviously, like I said before, like, athletic stuff, sports, like I had it to honestly probably be like very well at states, records and stuff, gone, shattered, didn't have that because, body couldn't fuel. It wasn't, I kind of shot my whole entire high school and college, athletics, any potential I had with it is gone. Like friendships and stuff, like I said, never went out and like partied or anything. Not even that, but like barely even hung out with my friends. And so thank God they're like, I'm still friends with them all and they still stuck by me. And they would always like, hit me up or text me and be like, hey man, we're all hanging out at, so-and-so's house if you want to come. And, the amount of every single time I said no, right. But like, they still reached out and stuff, but, like friendship wise, like had very little social life from that because I was just so scared of like, I was like, I could control in my own house, right? If I have my own food, I can control what I'm eating, which is, obviously very little. But if I'm going out to eat and around other people, it's really hard to, throw away food or sneak stuff if you're surrounded by other people. So I was super afraid of like going out or hanging out with other people. And then like, yeah, just like family stuff, because like when you're going through it, like you said, you do become kind of sneaky. And then, you don't want to get caught because you think you're right. You're thinking like, if I do eat a lot, I am going to get fat. What I'm doing is right. So you become very kind of like sneaky and deceptive and stuff towards like family and friends and things like that. So yeah, like family, friends, all like, the whole entire thing, obviously like my life was really bad. My life really sucked. So like I said, definitely glad to get out of it. But yeah, it definitely does affect because it is a mental disorder, it affects the mind. So it does affect like most aspects of your life. So.
Wow. No, it's super interesting. And I appreciate you sharing that. I'm super curious is like, you obviously have an incredible platform through social media and on TikTok, Instagram, wherever people can find you. But where did that kind of start? Where did you start putting out the content surrounding fitness, lifestyle, humor, whatever whatever you're doing?
Yeah.
But where did that kind of come into the mix? Were you posting consistently during these like harder times, or did this happen
No. Yeah,
post?
I started in 2019, like end of 2019. So by then, like I said, I think I started to get better like junior year of high school. I would say I was totally better senior year of high school, like mentally and everything. Obviously, like I said, still probably weighed like, I think I weighed like 160 in senior year of high school. But mentally wise, like I can look back and be like, all right, yeah, I was past it all and stuff. And then I remember so after I graduated, where I commissioned, and then I went to field artillery training in Oklahoma. Did that. It's like a 6-month course. And then I was trying to get a ranger school at the same time. So did a ranger school tryout. It was like 16 weeks while you're doing the field artillery stuff. Ended up snapping the same leg that I did, prior back, really bad shin splints. But I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pull the old David Goggins, right? Because I was like, well, I don't want to quit. I'm not going to quit, right? And because I was working out a lot. Like I was doing my heavy lifting. We'd be doing the ranger stuff at like 4:30 in the morning, and then we'd have all day of classes and stuff. And then I would work out at like 11 at night, and then back up again at like 4:30 and stuff. So it was just the pounding just kind of eventually just snapped it. But I was like, well, I don't want to quit. So I would put a sock over my leg, duct tape it really tight to create like a little cast, and then I would put another sock over it to hide it, and then ran on it. And it was bad. Like every single time my foot would hit, I'd be seeing stars and stuff. Ended up so they had 5 slots. So I ended up getting one of the slots to go to ranger school after my course finished. And then I was like, well, I got the slot, right? So now I can go to the doctor and just see how bad I messed it up, because I got the slot. I probably can't go right now, but they'll just push it back another like month or 2 or something. That's what I was thinking. So I went to the doctor and they're like, yeah, absolutely no way. You're not going. I was like, well, I kind of figured that, but like, I'll be able to go in a month or something. They're like, no, that's not the way that works, is that your slot just gets taken instead. And I was like, man, so you're telling me I did all this for like 16 weeks just to get a slot, just to get it taken away? I was like, oh my God. So what had happened was I was held over for like 2 weeks before I could go to Fort Stewart. And then, I had already finished my classes. So I'm just sitting in a hotel room. All I had to do was report in the morning. And then that was it. I could do whatever, had no other responsibilities for 2 weeks. I was like, dude, I'm really bored. And that's like that was the days when like TikTok was like super cringy and you couldn't be caught dead. It's not like, now it's like everyone has it because there's all the different types of videos. But back then, especially if you're a dude, like, nah, dude, you don't have TikTok. But I was like, I'm so bored. I'm going to download it. And I was watching it and I was like, dude, I'm just gonna start making some stuff. And, did like random little skits and stuff. And like, that's all I had to do. So I was just posting stuff, and eventually had one hit like 1 million, and it was like, still a lot of low views. One hit 1 million. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then it started gaining some followers, and like, boom, one hit 1 million. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. Only did it for fun. And just kept up with it, like I said, did my army stint at Fort Stewart, and then, just kept posting consistently. And then now that I'm out, it's like, well, I could make this into like a full-time job. That's pretty sick. And so like, yeah, I was just posting. I would post every day. Like I started posting off, like, I remember I'd be posting like 8 times a day, wild stuff. And it like started off as like the dumb lip sync stuff, because that's like what that was the only type of content that there was. Like if I could scroll all the way back, I'm like, man, that's really cringy. But that's like what it started off as. And then I was like, well, I want to show a little bit of my workout stuff. And it wouldn't, like, the workout stuff didn't do well. So then I would like strategically put it in, like, I would make these things called like a day in the life. It'd be like 30 seconds, just little 3 short-second clips, but they were for the sole purpose of showing my workouts, essentially, was what it was. And then those did decent. And then I started like doing some like funny comedy stuff and started like speaking more instead of like, just using the sounds on there and stuff. And then, like I said, yeah, just was consistent the whole time, and then built, a decent platform. And then now that I'm out, like I said, it's just like, all right, now that this is what I'm doing, I guess now, because I can make it profitable, and I don't, it's better than any other regular job I could get with my biology degree right now. So that's pretty sick. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of how it's, yeah, it all happened because I, snapped my leg again, which is funny because I snapped my leg, which led to me getting over my anorexia. And then I snapped my leg again, which led to me having this platform. So I can thank my broken leg twice.
I need to snap it again for another good.
I know, some more good luck. Snap it in half. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But no, that's super interesting, dude. And it's cool to see how, your content, there is a range. Like you do a lot of the fitness stuff. You obviously have some George stuff. You have your entertaining stuff, and it's cool. Like we were talking about this a little bit before we jumped on here. Just you're able to appeal and reach so many different types of people. And I think even when you're doing the funny stuff, like it's easy to see your genuineness as a person and like what you stand for and how you even like, share some of the things that you went through to make an impact. And to me, that's just like, that's so powerful.
Yeah. Cause I've tried to make it so it's like, cause you see a lot of people where they're like, they're stuck in some little niche, but that's like their thing. Right. And that's it, especially the people that don't ever talk. And it's like, well, I've tried to build like my thing as like me, my platform is me, like regardless on, other people may get more views if they're only doing one thing, but like, at least I know if I can post whatever I want, like I said, regardless on if it's, if, hey, I want to do some cool looking workout stuff or some posing stuff, it's going to do pretty decent. If I want to do some stuff with my girlfriend, it's going to do pretty decent. Do some stuff with George or whatever, it's going to do pretty good because it's like based on me as a person, not as like a certain style of content, which is nice because it has a lot of freedom because most of my stuff I don't even plan. It's just pretty much all of it's off the cuff and set like except for like the workout stuff if I'm planning on like what the film beforehand. But it's nice because like I said, it feels like they kind of know you behind the screen versus other people if they're just doing the lip syncing stuff or dancing. Like, yeah, it looks cool, but like who is this person, right? You don't ever know that at all.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's super big. In today's world too, it's like a lot of people put up a fake kind of facade of what their life to look like, but the people that are genuine about it and put it out there, I think is really cool. And you can't tell. And I think that's kind of what you've done. And you've been very genuine in your approach and your brand. And I think a lot of people relate to that. I think a lot of people look at you and they relate to you, resonate with some of the things that you've dealt with or do. And then obviously you've built a really cool community. So it's been really cool to watch that.
And try my best to. And it's nice too because like I am getting a lot of messages of dudes like, especially like high school kids, are like, hey man, I'm actually struggling with the same thing you did, and stuff. And which is nice because it's like I wish, and like so I'm trying to put out in the middle of making a YouTube with it, like a full anorexia thing because I was like, I want other people to have something like, to look to or like base or get some, like hope or help from that I didn't have. Like, cause I had to figure everything out myself and, and it wasted 6 years of my life, and if I could, help prevent, a lot of those wasted years from other kids, and that would be, like a dream for that. So.
Absolutely. And I want to talk about your current situation with fitness. Like you're a savage, dude. Like you're a beast. You really are. And are you competing currently? Or are you just continuing to improve and kind of focus?
No, yeah, I would think it'd be cool to compete. The problem is that, like I said, because I kind of jack myself up growth wise, right? Is that like I have like a lot of my family members, like we all have like wide hips. Like I have a 32-inch waist. Like I could be really lean. My hip bones are just set really far out. But the other members of my family, right, they have those broad shoulders and stuff, but I don't have those big shoulders. So if I'd have to run a lot of gear, honestly, or put on a large amount of mass if I wanted to bodybuild, right? Because like if I'm gonna compete and like put myself through like I think it'd be cool to like make a sort of series and stuff, more content. But like if I want to compete, I want to do well, and I just know like I could come in super lean and everything, and I know I'd get blown out of the water by some David Lade looking dude with a tiny looking waist. Whereas me, like, from the side, I can look really good because I got a decent like tricep and I'm pretty lean and stuff. But once you show me from the front, it's just my wide hips. Just I don't have a crazy V taper thing, so I know like I could never be crazy competitive in bodybuilding unless I like put on a whole like a lot of mass on like the shoulders and lats and stuff. Which maybe like you said, I'm 25, but who knows? There's still a lot of room for growth. But I've always thought I'm like powerlifting would be kind of cool because I have like strength trained for a while. Like I got a pretty decent deadlift and squat. I want to get the bench up. My bench I want to get at least like a 315 bench, like consistently. I've done 300 before for one, but like I don't have the, like, you know how you always hear like some dudes are either good at like deadlift or bench. Like the dudes that are super good at bench are usually not as good as deadlift, and the dudes that have like really good deadlift with the leverages just aren't as good at bench. And that's me. Like I got that like fast twitch oomph. I call it. I call like the oomph on like the squat in the legs and the back for like my squat and deadlift just from like deadlifting a ton, all the rucking and stuff. So my lower back super strong, but like I can knock out push-ups all day, like all day from the army, like dips and stuff. But I don't have that like fast twitch thing to push a lot of weight very quick. Because I know dudes that are like 20 pounds lighter than me that can bench 100 pounds more, and it's absurd. And I know, like, if I don't get that bench up, I'm going to go in. Like, I can make it up with my deadlift, but I know I'm going to get in there. Say, like, I hit 295 for a pause. Some dude's going to be, 385. And I'm going to be like, all right, that's done. So, like, yeah, if I was to compete, I'd probably go towards, like, the powerlifting side, I think. And then just try to look good. So,
Yeah. What's your deadlift PR?
655 right now. I want to hit 675. So I can send it to Dave and be like, yo, look what you can't do anymore.
Dude, that is a lot of weight, bro.
And it's the problem is it's like I've been at, like I was saying before, like started at like 120, went to 120, 150, looked a little kind of not like fluffy, but like wasn't insanely lean, and then spent a year at 150, grew into it, kind of got like lean, and then went to 160, 165. Then spent a while, grew into it, 170. And then, I've been at like 180-ish for the past 2 years. But like when I first hit 180 to look like now at 180 is like night and day. Like, like shred a little, like, grew into it and stuff. But like I said, I'd have to like, I've kind of maxed out what I can do right now at this weight to where I need to like bump up, to like 185 or 190 and stuff. But it's also cool because it's like, if I thought about that, 6 years ago, like I never thought I'd be over 150. I thought 150 was fat, and I thought it'd be like a slug at 150. Now I'm like, well, I could try push 190. We'll see what I do at 190. Like that's like it's night and day, like thought process, which is pretty cool.
That is cool. I love some of the transformation videos you put out are absolutely crazy.
I tell you, I was super skinny. They make for good videos because I was super skinny.
Dude, it's really cool, bro. Just everything you've accomplished is amazing. Where are you headed? Like, what are some goals you have? Business, fitness, life, whatever. Like, what are some things you're working on? Where are you trying to go?
Yes, and that's like the tricky thing too, because it's like in Kansas, right? Like I'm here because my girlfriend's in the Army. She's at Riley, so we're stationed here and stuff. Not much you can do in Kansas, and I've been doing pretty well with like what I can do, but you do need to be like in the LA area or Texas or Florida, like to network and to like get that one step up and stuff. So we're hoping to be able to move, cross my fingers on the Army's dime, to LA for like a year, which would help me out. But like, it's more of like, how do I use what I have now? Like I said, trying to work on the YouTube, trying to get consistent on that. Cause I know that's like the real money maker for the business. And like a lot of brands see YouTube as they like way YouTube a lot more than Instagram or TikTok or anything, just because it's been around for so long that they know they're going to get like a good return if they're spending money on like an ad or something. But I would like to either, like I said, it all depends on the network. I would love to either like maybe dabble in acting, modeling, because I'm just trying to think of like legitimate things I can use the platform to like, all right, how do I set myself up that I'm good for the next 10, 15 years or something? So I'm like, all right, modeling, acting, or business, because I got a couple buddies, like another Navy vet, he's a good buddy of mine, he's like 35 and did YouTube back in the day, and then now he owns like a multi-million-dollar cookie business, of all things cookies. But it seems like that's like, if you can't do like one of the other things, it seems like from what I've seen is like use the leverage you have and start a business, and then have that take off. So I was with a buddy who reached out, and he's like, yo, my old business partner left because he had to go to med school. Would you be interested in like being a co-owner of this like liquid chalk company? I was like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. So like, trying to make that something. Cause I was like, two things come from it. Either this thing does really well on Amazon and stuff like that, and we can get it into a bunch of gyms and things, and it does turn to a thing where it like makes us financially free and that's the business. Or worst case scenario, if it doesn't pop off or anything, I still get experience on running a business, So I was like, that's it's a win-win on either end. But yeah, it's like this, you've seen like the liquid chalk and stuff like that. And like, I think we're one of the only ones that has like different colors and stuff in it. You can get like, pink, yellow, blue, all, it's kind of like, where you see like custom bars, like deadlift bars that are the different colors. And you're like, oh, that stuff looks pretty cool. But yeah, we got in with the distributor with all the Anytime Fitnesses. So we're trying to do this thing where, like soap dispensers.
Yep.
Yeah, that looked automatic ones. So like most gyms, commercial gyms at least, don't like chalk because it's messy.
Right.
So we're trying to like see how this works. We made this like soap dispenser liquid chalk combination thing to where we're like, hey, ideally, so like we were with the distributor, we're like hoping that they can blast out into all the Anytime Fitnesses in the country and be like, hey, this is approved. You guys can use this if you want. And then, have this, dispenser thing, on the wall. Cause a lot of, like, especially there's a lot of Anytime Fitnesses. Like I used to always go to Anytime Fitness outside of my base in Georgia, so a lot of military people that lift heavy that would like to use chalk and stuff. So it's like, you have the wide range. You have like the very casual, just cardio people and the heavy lifters. So it's like, hey, wouldn't it be a bad idea to try to talk to these, gyms and be like, hey, you can slap this dispenser thing on the wall. Boom. It's a no mess. You just automatic, put your hand underneath it, liquid chalk, rub it, no mess. You don't got to clean it up. And then it's there for, all the people that need it. And then we're hoping if that will like kind of kickstart it to like something, something big where, cause there's like a couple thousand Anytime Fitnesses in the country. So, and that's the sort of thing, just like supplements, right? Like, you're eventually going to run out of the chalk and have to order more, so we can get consistent orders from that and then get the name out through there, spike Amazon sales, and then, slowly start dabbling into like getting some athletes or something. So like, that's like the projection for that. Like I said, either regardless on if it works or not, I'm either like I said, it's either going to work and I'll be set, or I'll learn something from it and be able to like carry that to, another business or something. That's kind of like what I'm thinking. And so right now it's just like being stable with the videos and the money coming from like the videos and like the very few, because I don't do many brand deals at all, really. But I do a few. I've been doing a couple with McDonald's, which is funny, but they pay well. Nice. So.
I'm glad you brought that up. I saw you and your girlfriend did one as well, didn't she?
Yeah, which is funny because, like I said, it's the so I was telling her, this is the difference between guys and girls on social media, is that girls will make 10, 20 times more regardless than guys on social media, because girls as like a market will always buy more. So McDonald's actually came to my girlfriend first, and they were like, hey, would you like to promote, the, whatever thing they're wanting to for the McDonald's in Kansas or whatever. And she was like, yeah, I'd love to, but do you also know my boyfriend who's this person? They're like, oh shit, so so I didn't even get the deal. It was my girlfriend who they came to. Wow. And I just got lucky that she sent me them. So now we kind of like alternate, like she'll do a month, they'll wait a month, and then I'll do it. And then they'll wait a month, and then she'll do it and stuff. But like, it's pretty, it's pretty good money for that. So I was like, I'll roll with McDonald's for a little bit. So
well, to say, I've honestly never seen an influencer promote McDonald's, which is
nice, because it's like, that's what I want to do. Like, you see a lot of the companies that are like the small companies, and especially at like the scale that I'm at, like, I've said closing, I started it October of 2019. So, I've been at it 2.5 years, over 6 million followers and stuff. It's like, now I want to be able to hit like the real established brands, because they can, obviously pay more, but it's like, I want to be able to like associate myself with like real brands and stuff like that. And that's why I'm like super excited if we can swing this, staying in LA for a year. Like, it's a lot of like network time. Cause right now, otherwise I've been down there a couple times, but it's, spending money for the flight, spending money for the hotel, rental car for a week. And realistically only have like 2 or 3 days to even do anything. And that's not enough time to network or really do anything. So the dudes that live there definitely do have like a leg up. So hopefully, like I said, I see, at least business wise, I see a solid growth if we can swing that, because that'd be sick.
Yeah, I love it. That's amazing, man. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for jumping on the AIM podcast. This has been a really fun episode, and I really appreciate your vulnerability, just sharing your story and how you've been able to grow and learn and honestly continue to develop a mindset to not only be the best version of yourself but help other people with it. So you've been amazing, man. I can't thank you enough.
I appreciate it. Like, so that's what I'm trying to do is have like at least someone that's open out there. That way, if someone's struggling with the same thing, they're like, because when I was going through it, I felt like felt super alone and felt like no one understood me. So if like there's someone out there pushing stuff that's like, hey, you're not crazy, like you're not, wrong or like a psycho or anything for thinking this way. And there's other people there's a lot of dudes that are struggling with the same thing that just don't say anything about it. And I feel like if there's stuff out there, it'll at least help people to like reach out for help, regardless of what that is. And, we can kind of, mitigate any of the really, really bad things that tend to happen from this.
100%, bro. You're a beast, dude. I can't wait to keep following your journey and all the cool things you do. And hopefully you hit that 675 deadlift.
I'll send you a video. I'll be the first person to send a video to if I get it.
I love it, dude. I will be there to support it 100%, bro. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.